Whoa, did you see that? Special right triangles. You think you're special? Are you special right triangle special? Okay, properties of 45, 45, 90 triangles. The diagonals of a square form two congruent isosceles triangles. And since the base angles of an isosceles triangle are congruent, the measure of each congruent angle is 45 degrees. So such a triangle is known as a 45, 45, 90 right triangle. Okay, so a 45, 45, 90 right triangle theorem. In a triangle such as this, the legs L are congruent, and the length of the hypotenuse H is is the square root of 2 times the length of a leg. So what we would do here to kind of prove this, let's take a look at the good old friend, the Pythagorean theorem. So I know that L squared plus L squared, let's call this, would equal AC squared. All right. So that means 2L squared equals AC squared. Well, if I go and I take the square root of each side of this, I end up with taking the AC squared becomes just AC. The square root of AC squared is AC. The square root of L squared becomes L. And the square root of 2 is, well, the square root of 2. So, how do we do these problems? Basically, I look at this, and I multiply it by square root of 2 to get that. So let's insert some awesome 45, 45, 90 triangle example problems here. Okay. So the first thing I want to do is I want to find x. Well, I have to ask myself, is this a leg or a hypotenuse? And this is a hypotenuse. So I know I can just say it's the leg times the square root of 2. Well, the leg is 6. So my x is going to be 6 square root of 2. And that's it. That's all there is to it. Don't make this harder than it needs to be. Now, in this case, I'm given the legs, and they have a square root of 2 in them. So let's watch what happens. I'm going to take the leg, 9 square root of 2, and I'm going to multiply it by the square root of 2, and that's equal to x. Well, the square root of 2 times the square root of 2 is 2, excuse me. So this will be 9 times 2 equals x, so therefore x is equal to 18. Now, sometimes we're going to, or this one, excuse me, again, we're given the leg, but we're not given the hypotenuse, so it's just the leg times the square root of 2. Well, what's 4 times the square root of 2 is 4 times the square root of 2. We're done. Now, oh, hold on, got more. That's here, same thing, 5 square root of 2. You try this one. Okay, you probably want to write it out. Okay, so let's go 7 square root of 2 times the square root of 2 is going to equal x. Square root of 2 times the square root of 2 is 2. So 7 times 2 equals x. So this is 14. Now, sometimes we're given the hypotenuse and has to solve for the leg. So x times the square root of 2 equals 12. So we're going to have to say that x square root of 2 equals 12. Now, what we have to do is divide each side by the square root of 2. Now we're not allowed to have, so I've got x is now equal to 12 over the square root of 2. That's not allowed in math world. So what we do to fix that is we're going to multiply the numerator and the denominator by the square root of 2. And what we end up with is x is equal to 12 times the square root of 2 over 2. So our final answer is x is equal to 6 square root of 2. Now, is there a shorter way we can do this? And I'm thinking, yeah, there is. I can look at this number here and say, hey, wait a minute, I've got the hypotenuse. I do not see a square root of 2 here. Do you see that in this? Nope, no square root of 2. So I'm going to divide by 2, multiply by the square root of 2. So I divide 12 divided by 2 is 6, and then multiply by the square root of 2 is 6 square root of 2. Take a look at now. Over here I have a square root of 2, right? So let's do the long part of it, and then we can see what we end up with, maybe coming up with a shortcut. So x times the square root of 2 equals 5 times the square root of 2. Well, if you divide each side by the square root of 2, what's going to happen is these are going to cancel. So my final answer is x equals 5. What's my clue here? Well, if I have a square root of 2 and the hypotenuse already, basically my answer is right there. So you try this one on your own. Hit pause. Oh, you chicken. Wouldn't even do it. Okay, that's fine. If you did do the problem, great. If you didn't, well, shame on you. Let's use our shortcut. So we know that we can say 18 over 2 times the square root of 2, right? Talked about that for the shortcut. Is x would be equal to that. So 18 over 2 is 9. So x is equal to 9 square root of 2. And we're done. Okay, so if we draw an altitude from the vertex of any equilateral triangle, a 30, 60, 90 triangle is formed. So these triangles have special properties too. Okay, so in a 30, 60, 90 triangle, the length of the hypotenuse h is 2 times the length of the shorter leg, s, and the length of the longer leg is square root of 3 times the length of the shorter leg. So it all goes off of the shorter leg. How do we know which one is the shorter leg? Remember, it's always going to be across from the smallest angle, the 30-degree angle. So let's see what we can do. Okay, insert awesome 30-degree, 60-degree, 90-degree triangle example problems here. So we want to find x and y. So here's how I start off. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to label this. Well, since this angle is 60, that means this one's 30. So this means this is our shortest leg right here. Short, long, hypotenuse. So what's the rule? The rule is the short times the square root of 3. So let's take a look at this, and we'll see if we can come up with a shortcut. We always want to find the shortest leg first. So x times the square root of 3 would equal 15. So we're going to divide each side by the square root of 3. And we we end up with x is equal to 15 over the square root of 3. But we can't add that. That's against the rules, right? We talked about this. So we can't do that. So we're going to multiply by the square root of 3 over the square root of 3, which is another way of 1. And we end up with x equals 15 square root of 3. And square root of 3 over the square root of 3 is 3. So 15 divided by 3 is 5 square root of 3. So what's our shortcut here? If we don't see a square root of 3 in this longer leg, right here, do you see the square root of 3? Nope. We're going to divide by 3, multiply by the square root of 3. Okay? See what we got here? We got divide by 3, multiply by the square root of 3. So x is equal to 5 square root of 3. Now, what's y equal to? Well, y is always going to be 2 times the shortest leg, right? The hypotenuse is always twice the shortest leg. So 2 times 5 is 10 square root of 3. Okay, first thing again, label the parts. So let's go with a different color here. We'll go blue. This is the short. This is the long. This is the hypotenuse. Becomes a lot easier to do when you label things. So I know now that since I do not see square root of 3 here, I'm going to use my rule from before. X is equal to 12 times the square root of 3 over 3. So my final answer is 4 square root of 3. The hypotenuse is double. Y is the hypotenuse. So 8 square root of 3. You can whip through these if you've learned that shortcut. Over here, let's label our parts. Start from this is the hypotenuse, this is the long, this is the short. Well, I know that the hypotenuse is twice the short. So, if you want to go through the math, or you say 2 times the short equals, or in this case, hold on a second. We don't want to say that. We can say 2 times x is the short. So 2 times x equals 10, therefore x equals 5, right? What's y got to be? Well, y's got to be the short leg, 5 times the square root of 3. And we're done. All right, over here, let's label our parts again. We've got our hypotenuse, we've got the long leg, and we've got the short leg. Hey, we're given the short leg, so this is easy, easy, easy. So x is twice the shortest leg, so 42 is x, the hypotenuse. The longest leg is the square root of 3 times the short leg, so 21 square root of 3.
That's all, folks.
I'll know real quick whether you watch the video because you'll know the tricks and they're really easy and the math is really easy if you did watch the video. If you don't watch the video, good luck figuring it out.